You go to the same cocktail parties that the State Department officers go to, and then a dinner party after the cocktail party, but in between you go meet an agent, and you pay him off, and you get a receipt, and you rush up to the embassy and stow the stuff so it won't fall out of your pocket at the dinner party or something, and then you go to the dinner party, and then after the dinner party you go run another errand, and this goes on day in and day out, Saturdays, Sundays, holidays. And when you begin to see that the organization as a whole is very sloppy and poorly run and the standards are very low, it's hard to stay motivated. It's hard to keep thinking it's worthwhile. And you really get to a state where you just really don't want to have to lock everything about your professional life in a safe and lie to all of the people you know about who you really are and what you're really doing and what your real dreams and aspirations and promotions are, and be able to complain to them about your failures or problems.
Well, I realize now that the business of the CIA is to go out and to corrupt individuals in place in their own countries, and that this is something that corrupts oneself. This was going against his upbringing, which was a strong Christian, very moral background, and he was coming into conflict with himself, hating himself, angry with himself.
You know, I would like to present myself as a man of intense principle who saw bad things and immediately resigned in disgust, but my career was obviously going quite well. I had the prestige of people coming to me for jobs, coming to me for advice, inviting me to lunch, wanting to play tennis with me. This is, you know, obviously a human satisfaction. I was not yet in top management. I couldn't really give away a lot of jobs, but I could speak on the behalf of someone. My income was about $33,000 a year. In 10 years, I could retire on a $21,000 a year pension for the rest of my life. I had total security.
Was it the thought that you would be continuing to do things like the Vietnam involvement and the Angolan involvement that you thought was immoral or counterproductive at the least?
Well, what I tried to do was to psych myself into going back to Africa as a chief of station in some place like Khartoum, for example, which would have been a nice post for my grade, and just not push covert operations very much. If something came along that was just sort of irresistible, some agent that just had to be recruited, we'll let an officer in my station recruit him, but basically just play a lot of tennis and let the paychecks come in. This is traditionally what burned out senior case officers do. And I muddled and waffled and vacillated and rationalized for about 8 months before I could tear myself away. I don't really look at it as taking that much guts to quit. I just sort of didn't have any choice. By November and December, I had intense pains in my abdomen, which were obviously the precursors of a stomach ulcer from the internal conflict of wanting to hang on to this career but not respecting it.
I had requested many times that Bob just drop out of the CIA, just get out and start life anew someplace. He wasn't able to do so when I asked him to, but now he has. He's seen even more since our divorce. And yes, I do feel vindicated when a man comes back and says you were right all along. Everything you ever said was right. Everything you ever said about everybody who walked into our house was right.
You know, inside the CIA, you're very much have the feeling of belonging to a religious order. That's not how you would verbalize it inside the CIA, but that's the effect. You live with CIA people, you socialize with CIA people, and you have quite a feeling that outsiders, the rest of the world, are hostile and misguided. And that inside the CIA you're safe and you're with people you can trust and people who view the world correctly. And it was the most refreshing thing about leaving the CIA and getting outside and meeting people in the press and the media and universities around the nation was to find how many really decent people there are who are working hard for things they believe in and are quite responsive to someone who's made a gesture, as I have, to a moral gesture. And Lecturing, for example, as I say, I've lectured, I guess, 36 times. I haven't counted, but many, many times. And I have yet to have one lecture that did not go hours beyond the prescribed time. Even when I had to catch an airplane, they would still keep me for hours. A lecture, you know, would be scheduled for an hour and a half, and 15 minutes of questions. And it would go on, in fact, until midnight, 1 o'clock, with people asking questions and the discussion just flowing. And then, more often than not, go somewhere to drink beer and talk on until 3 or 4 in the morning. The interest is extremely high in this subject of the secret government and governmental abuses, the encroachment of the government on individuals inside our society, but also on the peoples of the world.